Okay. In line with what the Homeland Party normally does now at the end of conferences, we open the floor to questions and answers. We are very confident about our nationalism. There's no questions we fear. So we want you guys to understand about remigration as much as possible. So if there are any questions that you want to ask to understand it clearly, or you've got any concerns, simply raise your hand, and Daniel on that side, and I believe Martin on the other side, have got mics. They'll allow you to ask the questions. You can direct them at individuals or at anybody on the panel, and we'll do our best to answer them honestly and openly for you.
Hello all. I'll give you the TLDR first. How do we win? That is, I think, the most important question that we can possibly have to ask. How do we win? I know why I'm here. I'm here because I have my family, my future family. We've all got aunts, nephews, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters. And we want to ensure that they have a place that's safe, comfortable and prosperous. So they're all normal people, not like us who understand. So how do we convince them that remigration is the way forward? How do we start having those conversations? And this is for everybody, and I'd love it from the friends from Deutschland to tell us how they started to have conversations with their family members in a position which has been extremely, stereotyped for a very long time. So how do we convince their family members and their friends that this is the way forwards? How do we do that?
Do you want to answer them first?
Okay. Yes, it takes a long time to win. That's the AfD was grounded in 2013, so it was 12 years ago, and we have a long walk since the grounding. And you have to win the hearts and the minds of the people. That's very important. You have to speak about the problems in your neighborhood, with your friends, with your mother, your daughter, whatever. You have to speak about the problems, and so you have to win the hearts and the minds of the people. And I said it before, never back down. Don't be afraid of anyone or anything outside. Never.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty straightforward. It's the Homeland Party way. What we're doing with sensible nationalism is trying to show people that we're not demons. We don't have two horns and tails. We will talk about the issues that are problematic. We'll explain to people what is wrong with mass immigration and why remigration will benefit our people. And importantly for me, we only win the hearts and minds of Joe Public and sell that to Joe Public if we have a humane policy. For all the rhetoric that you'll see online about they've all got to go, we must deport them, that is not how the public think, because they all know somebody in their lives, be Abdul down in the corner shop or the Caribbean guy who's at their work, who's a nice guy, and they can't bear to think of these people having their door kicked in and chucked out, so they'll never sensibly support us. But if we explain that this is about our people and for our people and how different our country could be, after that, that's for me how we win. With sensible policies, sensible nationalism, explaining what's good for us, and it's not about hate for them. So I think we've already working down that road as the Homeland Party, and as Ant's presentation said today, we're selling what remigration is and explaining the benefits of it.
Yeah, couldn't put it better myself. Anybody else need to go?
I think one of the things raised in the question is obviously that awkwardness, that unease when you finally approach family members about mass immigration and concerns about our cultural erasure and things like this, and talking about uncomfortable topics like grooming gangs and things like this. We have to be brave. You may well approach your parents or your siblings, and you have to come to terms with they might reject your views. You may well tell your parents that you're concerned about these things. and they just don't get it. But maybe your brother or your sister does. Or vice versa. Your parents may well understand, but your brother and sister, start to look at you differently. But these are the uncomfortable conversations that must be had, whether we like it or not. Because if we remain silent, then things will continue to change and get worse. Part of the problem is obviously that we don't speak out about the things that are taking place, and we need to. It's vitally important. We can only start to have a mass movement that pushes back against the things being done to us if we're prepared to lose friends and have these uncomfortable conversations.
I think for me, Alec hits on a really good point there. I've come across lots of patriots who haven't even let their family know that they're patriots yet. And for me, and it might not be the case for everybody, I think it's probably the easiest conversation you'll have, to be able to go to your family who know you and love you and realise that you're not a lunatic. To have these conversations and have them rationally with them is something you should all try. If you haven't reached that stage yet with your siblings or with your parents, it is something worthwhile trying to explain them, because they'll know that you're not going to get involved in an organisation that's full of cranks and lunatics. And if you explain to them and they see the things, and the other thing is learning and reading, so that you can explain what remigration actually means. So go through your policy, speak to other comrades in the party and people in the party, so that you're confident yourself before you have that conversation with your family. But I think the fear factor is massive for a lot of people. And I'm hoping what you've seen today is examples of people in our community who are making progress. I've heard things today that are incredible. Like the catering people bought merchandise. We've met people out in that hallway and out in the car park who said, "We wish we'd known you were on, we would have come." They're seeing us and they're speaking to you guys and they're being impressed. And they're seeing we're normal people. And that makes an absolute world of difference. That's what eliminates the fear. When they see how well behaved we are, how sensible we are, how articulate we are, how smartly dressed we are, they see that we're quality people. That banishes the fear. That smashes it. So learn what Remigration is about on our website and have these conversations with your family, because that's your training ground for then going and speaking to Joe Public.
Right. So I am a political marketer. So obviously I'm going to see that from my political marketing viewpoint. The product of the AFD in Germany, which is the policy, it's great. It's the best policy that there is in Germany. So the only question is how to market that. And everybody here can contribute to this for the Homeland Party by providing positive, good feelings, white-pilling people, doing good memes, spreading. Everybody can achieve at least a bit. And everybody here in the room does on social media a bit every day, then you are going to win automatically.
I just had a question about political economy, which sounds tedious, but really, I've recently seen some brilliant messaging from the Homeland Party linking remigration to the safety of women and children. Now, I think that the answer to your question earlier on, how do we win, is about making obvious the wider political economy of remigration, meaning, for example, we are currently a people without a home. And remigration would make it possible for you to raise a family and afford to have one and afford to have your own home. So is the Homeland Party going to be promoting remigration on the basis of that future economy, that future economic benefit? Because I think that would win us thousands, if not millions, of votes.
Yes, absolutely. We will be releasing a full spectrum of policies over time. Economics is a tricky one because it's such a large area of policy. But yes, the idea that each young person should be able to have a car, a home, a wife and a child on one income will be central to our policy platform.
Yeah, and just as same as Ant was saying there, I think the biggest problem we have is that our youth feel that they've lost hope and they don't have a future. You know, our membership in the party is roughly around 70% under 30. And I think that's because we do offer a vision for the future that's appealing to young people. We're the only people standing up for youngsters to offer them the kind of future that's been spoken about. You know, I'm 54 today, and
Happy birthday, Kenny.
I absolutely feel like a dinosaur in virtually every meeting I go with the Homeland Party. But it's good to see that young people are getting engaged, because one of the things, for example, that we're trying to do with community politics is ask our people to start investing back in their community. Not just so you can have nationalists in that community, so that the young folk can actually be driving that community forward for their benefit and for their futures. So if you go to any of these town, parish or community councillors, I'll guarantee you 9 out of 10 of these councillors are retired people who pretty much are only there because they're nosy parkers. That's not a joke. Only 2 or 3, 4 of these people will actually do any of the work for that council on the majority of the time. The rest go there to hear the gossip of what's going on in that local community. And I've sat in these councils when they've said, we've had a letter from a young person, and they're almost giggling. What will we do with this? What are they moaning about now? Well, see, if there was young people on these councils, you could drive that community and shape that community for your own good. And that's what I think is the sensible, positive nationalism we produce. We want you guys to actually genuinely rise up and start taking control and power and shape that for your own future. It's the only way we're going to do it. Nobody's going to help us. Nobody's coming to save us. We've got to do it ourselves. So, you know, I think that in terms of the political economy, yes, 100%. But it's you guys that have got to take the bull by the horns and do it.
Hey, this is not a question as such, just a comment that I'd like to get your thoughts on. I was thinking in the car on the way down, there's been some people that have been impressing upon me the need to go harder line and to specify particular targets on how many people we're going to remigrate and a time scale for doing that. And my thoughts on this are that we have a vision of where we want to be in terms of a great restoration and repairing demographics, etc. But I think while this is a remigration conference, has to be understood that achieving what we want to do is not done with remigration alone. It's part of a two-pronged strategy where, yeah, we're going to be removing people, but it's also going to be family-friendly, child-friendly, things like childcare for families, taxation policy, that whole raft of policy that you speak of that's going to make life better. And so just in terms of messaging, while remigration is an achievable goal and a priority, we still need to be saying that it's part of a broader strategy in pursuit of our vision of rebuilding Britain as a homeland.
Yeah, I can answer a bit of this one. So, yes, we need more people who are able to articulate what Pete just articulated. Everyone has got opinions and beliefs, but we are very short on people who are able to write and really lay out what it is that we're saying, and then start to take those longer form things into shorter form things for TikTok or Twitter or something like that. We're trying to put across a vision for the future and put across some pretty radical ideas. It's going to take time. What we wrote in autumn when we first laid down a remigration policy, it was us laying down exactly what it is, what are its limits, but we haven't yet managed to update that for 2025 in response to questions such as how many are going, what are the targets, what are this, what are that. We need to start laying these things out a bit very carefully, very cautiously, so that it has that hope and has that optimism. But if you're out there watching at home and you think you can write for the Homeland Party, send something into our inquiries address that you've written, and we'll see about getting you added to the team.
Yeah, for me, remigration is actually only a tool, so we can actually start putting our people first. It's not the reason we exist. It's going to help us create a party that then governs for our people and puts our people first. Once remigration is done, we're not going to stop. We're still going to be doing that positive work for our people.
I'm firmly of the belief that any success our movement is going to see is going to be largely contingent on the continued presence of women and girls in the movement. I think one of the things our party does really, really well is cultivating a female presence. And I think I look around and I see more women here than I've seen at any nationalist event I've been to in the past. So this question is mainly directed at Lena, but obviously open to the rest of the panel as well. What kind of messaging can we use specifically, and what kind of issues can we focus on that are going to resonate with women and girls and get them in a position where they feel comfortable standing up for our people?
I think in England it's the same problem like in Germany. Women and girls are not safe. If they go out, maybe after 4 o'clock, then they are afraid because we have so much gang rapers, we have so much murderer, and the women are afraid of this. And we have to say them, okay, if you vote the AfD stands for remigration, you can be sure later. It takes time. We have to remigrate a lot of people in Germany. But if the women or the girls, if they can, vote the AfD, we are the only party in Germany who stands up for the rights of the women. Women are afraid of immigration, mass migration to Germany, and we can only solve this problem with remigration. And that's what we say to them. And in Eastern Germany, many women had understand that. In Western Germany, we have to work a lot.
I'll add a little bit more to this. We have to consider that until this last week, all of the mainstream parties were reluctant to tell you what a woman actually is. Yeah.
We never had that issue.
Well, we never had that issue. We had a lovely little truth table in our policy pointing out that pretty much all of the mainstream parties supported the Gender Recognition Act, support the Equality Act, support men dressed as women entering into women's spaces until last week. We were very firm that men are men, women are women, and pansy is the name of a flower. That is the Homeland Party policy.
I'll just add, Lena's absolutely correct to highlight the biggest problem with mass immigration is obviously the safety of women and girls. Increasingly, I think women are feeling more confident that they can express that, no, they are noticing an increased uptick in sexual harassment and the threat of rape, and is a direct cause of third world immigration. But I think another angle as well is, as we know, mass migration depreciates wages and increases house prices. You know, we had women's liberation where, women can choose to go to work if they like. Great. But now we've got this situation where we all have to work. And if you want to have that opportunity to choose to, say, have a more traditional role and be a housewife and have lots of children, that's not even an option anymore. So we need to be providing people options. We need to be selling people remigration liberates us and gives us more choice. Mass immigration has lowered our quality of life and has actually reduced the amount of options that we have to pursue the lives that we want. So I think that's a very important angle that we also need to come at it from.
But one more question, then we'll finish up.
I'll try and make this quick. Me and my friend beside me, we were both nationalists while still in high school. And I think I'll speak for anyone else who was nationalist in high school. We're few and far between. Most politically active youth that we would have known growing up would have been on the radical left by an overwhelming majority. Young people are going through extreme levels of indoctrination. There was a poll done that said something to the effect of, this is what parties young people support. 8% Tory, 13% Reform, then it get 20% Green, then Labour. Who knows what Lib Dems are? They're irrelevant anyway. How are we going to reach the currently politically inactive youth? And how are we going to convince them of our ideas about remigration and overcome the levels of indoctrination they've gone through?
Yeah, I think we're already doing that. The fact that you're here, the fact that 70% of our membership is under 30, I think we're already achieving these targets.
I'd like to put this one to Branko. Do you have anything on this, Branko?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we had a huge success back in Germany with the AfD while acquiring the younger people through memes, first of all. Positive, white-pilling memes, super much humor. Pretty much all political parties take themselves really way too seriously. And that is especially the case in Germany. The AfD is the pretty much only party that actually has a meme squad that does something like that. Right? Not party members, just some random activists that are inspired by us, and we are obviously then also inspired by them. It is a organic exchange, if you want, right? We set up the policy, and they make art out of it, and it works very well. We had also massive success with especially younger girls over Instagram and TikTok. That all is going to wind up at some point of time into having role models. We already have very good, very solid female influencers who are helping a lot. And this is just going to be more. So this is a possible venue for the Homeland Party as well, I believe.
Yeah, so we need to finish it.
It has been a bit tragically quiet over the last week with the memes. So if any meme makers are out there listening to this, get on it.
Okay, so I think we need to fudge time because we have to be out of here like 5. So I'd just like to say thank you very much all for coming along. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank our speakers and especially our continental guests, Vincenzo as well, came all the way over from Germany, from Generation Identity. All the people involved in the setup team who promote the party online, who work in your local communities. The Homeland Party isn't about one single individual, it's about the whole. So thank you very much, and do please help pack up.